Greetings, Lazarus, 18th of December. Just gone 9 p.m. here where I am in just outside Lilongwe in Malawi. Forgive me. Arrived here yesterday, having sailed back from the Likoma island off the coast of Mozambique, where I was for 5 days. And I have to say, 5 of the most idyllic days of my somewhat idyllic life. I don't think I've ever experienced such an extraordinary island setting. It's exactly what you would think would pop out of a kind of Disney, no, let's not go there, a Pixar film. Just stunning. And we had been scouting for many months land for the New Earth sanctuary, residential healing sanctuary for the Malawi Africa Initiative. The New Earth Initiative in Malawi, forgive me. Although the Likoma Island is just off the coast of Mozambique, it's actually in the center of, not in the Lake Malawi, which is technically, it's regarded as an inland sea. It's vast. It took a day and a half to sail from the coast of Malawi to the island. And to those of you who are watching some of my intermittent feed, you'll know that it was an odyssey from hell to sail there. The boat, an almost 100-year-old boat called the Lala, is the only ship on this inland sea that for over 3/4 of a century has been ferrying souls around the coastline. It's also known, incidentally, Lake Malawi, as the Calendar Lake, because it's 365 miles long. It's 52 miles wide. It's fed by 12 rivers, so it kind of corresponds almost perfectly to the calendar. And there's one big island just off the coast of Mozambique, which is on the other side of the lake. And this paradise place. Spent time there, met the chiefs, and locked down our plans to establish the New Earth Sanctuary in Malawi there on the Likoma Island, and then had to sail back again another day and a half. This time with, we discovered 777 black souls crushed onto the ship that is supposed to take, I think, about 300. It was absolutely terrifying. Boarding the ship, you have to scale up the side of the ship off a fishing boat kind of deal and claw your way through an ocean of bodies trapped in the lower deck of the ship. Honestly, it was redolent of the old slave trade. And please do not take me wrong, beautiful people of Malawi. I'm not being insulting, but it was just the most extraordinarily dangerous, in a sense, and challenging journey that I've ever made. And I've traveled the world for 30 years, been every remote corner imaginable, other than Patagonia and Antarctica. And I've never been in a situation where I genuinely thought, I don't know that I can handle this. Nonetheless, got through that ocean of black, beautiful people crammed in the lower deck and was pulled up the stairwell to get to daylight, and then sailed, and a storm hit us. Of course, a storm hit us. And it was a lightning thunderstorm, and we absolutely should have tanked. And this should be my obituary. But we got to the other side, and then drove hell for leather to get here to this bush lodge where I am, the only place we could find with outstanding Starlink. So that was in my commitment to getting here for Lazarus. And tomorrow morning early, we head off back into the bush to Zambia, and we'll stay in another lodge tomorrow night. Then the following day, Lusaka, last meetings in Zambia, tying up the New Earth Zambia initiative, which, as those of you who are following what we're doing in Africa, is pioneering and historic in equal measure. And when we make the formal public announcements in the first quarter of next year, I think it might make top-line news, because it's so extraordinary what we're doing. It's so beautiful, and so many wonderful souls are connected to how we're building this economy, how we're building this multilateral initiative in the cradle of civilization, in the chakra, the kind of sacral chakra of Africa. So mission almost accomplished. When I'm land in Europe in the next few days, I'll know exactly how successful it's been. But that's my little update in 5 minutes on what I've been up to in the 6 or 7 country odyssey that we've just done in the last 3 weeks in Africa, all on the lateral plane on road. I didn't want to take any bush planes. I really wanted to do that kind of mythic piece where you bring your body temple to the land and you commune with the land, no matter what that terrain brings you or water brings you in this case. And I'm glad I did that, because I really feel like I've touched this part of Africa, which, curious enough, is where I was born and where I grew up in the war in then Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, which is just a stone's throw from here. So for me, a kind of beautiful full circle piece. And I'm on my own personal Lazarus resurrection from the dead journey, as are all of us. And for sure, the thousands of people watching this, you are all very much on that journey, which is what unites this beautifully conscious community. So welcome to our 50, I don't remember which number it is. Let me just check my notes. It is the 54th symposium of the Lazarus Initiative in 5 years, and going from strength to strength. Today's opening forum is with beautiful souls who I'm very blessed to count as colleagues and friends. We're discussing, and this, as you will know, is the second and closing piece on Atlas. Atlas Rising, decoding the interstellar signal, structure, perception, and the great unfolding, with David Sereda, George H. Lewis, Birdie Jaworski, and Jenny Lee. So let me bring my beautiful guests on. Jenny Lee, you're first up. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Now you'll have to unmute.
Hi, how are you?
Very good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Birdie, you're next up. Thanks for joining us. Good to see you as well.
Good to see you, Sacha.
Yay. George H. Lewis, sir, you look as though you're in Colombia.
Gosh, you must be psychic.
Well, you and I are doing better than both Jenny and Birdie, that's for sure.
No, I don't think I can beat you. I mean, your story is quite exceptional, I must say. You make my mouth drool with anticipation.
And lastly, but not leastly, our beloved frequency guru and veteran Lazarus, founding Lazarus veteran member, David Sereda. David, lovely to see you.
Great to be here, Sacha.
Good stuff. And tell us you're freezing in Canada, one, and secondly, to make George and I feel even better, and secondly, explain kindly that glowing orb over your left shoulder.
Well, firstly, the glowing orb over my left shoulder is part of a crystal transmitting network. So I have 300 feet of wire connecting my transmitting coil systems to big cedar trees and a big mother spruce tree down the hill. So I'm using trees as antennas as 3i Atlas is coming by, and I'm sending it signal messages. And in fact, yesterday in the morning at about 7 a.m., I was finishing my weekly webinar on 3i Atlas, and a massive golden lightning bolt struck the area and everything went black. And it turns out it was one of the biggest outages. We don't get lightning storms in the winter here. In Montana, eastern Washington, hundreds of thousands of people lost power, all the way up into northern BC. Hundreds of thousands of people lost power in a single second when I was saying the words that the measurements and the angles need to be perfect according to the grand designer, and boom, on the word perfect, it all went down. So everybody in Washington State and Montana and British Columbia, all the way to Vancouver, this doesn't happen. Like, power doesn't go out synchronistically over a large network like that. And this gets really, really deep. I mean, I could show you maps of the outage, but I think it was 3i Atlas, because that's what I was talking about. And I'm communicating through this vast system of the mycelium. So in the mycelium, which is the largest single living organism on the earth, is how the trees are all interconnected over these vast distances. So once you transmit into them, which is harmonic, I don't use single frequencies, I use harmonics, and I'm sending in the harmonics of what 3i Atlas is showing us, which is the hyperdimensional solar system. So it knows what I'm sending it. And I don't want to blame myself for the outage, but I think it's a synchronistic moment where I was timed perfectly for this to happen.
Thank you. So everyone, you can blame David Sereda for the outage.
For the outage.
And that beautiful intro is what you get when you have the physicist, inventor, and frequency guru whose work bridges quantum mechanics and harmonic resonance. And for those of you who've been asleep at the wheel for the last few months of LAZARUS Symposium, George H. Lewis is the astrologist, cosmologist, and mythic analyst of the human soul. He specializes in planetary cycles, archetypal thresholds, and the symbolic language through which cosmic events mirror collective transformation. And Birdie Jaworski is the professional remote viewer and intuitive investigator known for disciplined sessions that often later align with empirical data, meaning to say she speaks the truth and she sees through things. Birdie has previously shared imagery related to Atlas that was later corroborated visually. And Jenny Lee, or Jenny Sight, is seer and multidimensional perceptual translator, and she received impressions and visual downloads related to 3i Atlas as early as 2022, long before it became any kind of a talking point, interpreting phenomena through function, process, and environmental interaction rather than object-based form. Now, that said, the introduction to this panel goes something like this. In our first conversation, we explored Atlas as an object, or perhaps as something far more complex than merely an object. But since then, new images, new data, and new interpretations have intensified the conversation, and not just scientifically, but psychologically, symbolically, and perceptually. So tonight's conversation is not about escalating any fear or forcing conclusions on this very enigmatic phenomenon. It's about how we are observing, how meaning is being assigned, and what this moment may be revealing, not only about Atlas, but about all of us. So each of our panelists bring forward distinct material, observational, intuitive, symbolic, and perceptual. And we'll begin by giving each of them, the royal we, I'll begin by giving each of them space to share their insights directly before widening the lens to the larger implications now unfolding, which brings me back to you, David, if you don't mind being the veteran here, on observation, participation, and quantum contact. In your recent writing on Medium, you've emphasized that observation itself changes the equation, and that when we observe something like Atlas, we're no longer separate from it. So with the imagery showing consistent angles, structured emissions, and non-gravitational behavior, how does quantum observer participation change the way we should interpret what we're seeing? Are we studying an object or interacting with a process?
Well, somehow I'm getting all these goosebumps, Sacha, as you were saying that. It's going right through my knees. I mean, that article focuses on the dialogues between Krishnamurti and physicist David Bohm, who discovered mathematically the implicate and explicit order, which is the harmony of the order of the internal human being interfacing with the external cosmic human being. And when a human reaches cosmic consciousness, I mean, again, I've been meditating my whole life. When you get into this supreme halo of the 1,000,000 petaled lotus flower awakens in the crown chakra, you enter the consciousness of cosmos. And the consciousness of cosmos is what happens at the master levels of meditation, which is why the ancient Egyptians were deeply immersed in the harmony of the order of the heavens, where we go in the afterlife. In fact, even Jesus, Isa, Yeshua is communicating the language that he's so certain of where this paradisical heaven is, he's not afraid to lose his physical existence, obviously, because he's so affirmative that he actually has his cosmic eye upon it. And so that's why when we look at a cosmic event, we know this in the implicate order of an explicate order of David Bohm and Krishnamurti's, synergy, if you will, that the moment we observe something in the quantum level, the wave function actually collapses, which means the membrane that seems to separate the egoic self, the myopic egoic self from cosmos and the quantum vanishes, and we become one. And when you become one, you're actually feeling it. So when you look at 3i Atlas, as soon as we observe it, we're part of it. In fact, I did this study in the last week on how much electrical energy, you wouldn't believe this, how much energy is radiating off a single human being is enough to light 14 10-watt light bulbs. Most of that energy in the form of infrared heat, which radiates mostly off the chest. And in fact, in Sedona, once I put on these military night vision goggles, and when I looked at my wife's chest, it almost blinded me. I had to tear the goggles off my head. That's how much light is coming off of us. Now, if you multiply that by 8 billion persons and the total amount of power, and I asked ChatGPT to do the calculations for me, how much would that beam of energy, how far would it travel? So if you sent that energy through a single monopole antenna, which transmits in all directions, the effective radial distance that we can reach happens to be Pluto. But if you focus the transmission, which means it becomes coherent, the single human being has enough energy to reach any of the local stars like Sirius, Alpha Centauri, and in fact, even as far as Vega, depending on how coherent your light becomes. But when you multiply, I did this mathematically, so this isn't like a psychic kind of thesis. It's actually measured. It turns out the total collective amount of energy. So that means if we could get humanity to focus together and stop being completely scattered, we collectively have enough energy in a focused beam as an effective transmission to cross the galaxy. So that can't be a coincidence. So that means if enough of us are focusing on 3i, third eye Atlas, as I like to call it, then we actually start to get a reaction, interaction, symbiosis between us. So when somebody's remote viewing this, it's not science fiction. It's really happening. It really is. So with that, yesterday, when I was in my webinar at literally they're 1 hour long webinars. So the timing was at the exact end of the webinar. I was saying how the grand organizing designer God, the master architect, designed everything to be mathematically and the angles perfect. Upon the word perfect, there was a flash of light and this power outage which spanned all the way into Montana, eastern Washington, all the way up to the north of British Columbia, all the way to Vancouver in the same moment in time. And for several minutes after, was taking out hundreds of thousands of people's power, which lasted about 3 hours. So the synchronicity of that, and I'm talking about Atlas, is kind of what I'm talking about. The human light bulb is, if it's non-focused, right, we have enough light to reach Pluto. And then effectively, and then our light fades into what's called the background noise of the universe. But if you're focused and you really focus your beam, a single person can reach any of the local star groups. So that means a remote viewer, which is focusing, is really doing this. It's incredible.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, let me move on to Birdie on updated remote viewing and corroboration. I'm hoping, incidentally, that we've managed to fix your audio problem. Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. I am
Thank
here.
So we need to show a brief clip from your earlier session referencing the
Yes.
diamond-like structure. So I'll leave that to Christy to queue up. But Birdie, your earlier remote viewing described a diamond-like geometry, something that later appeared echoed in observational imagery. But since that
Yes.
session, what new information have you received, and has your understanding of Atlas evolved in terms of structure, intent, or function, and how do you now contextualize what you first perceived?
I have
Did you
so
hear
much.
about this lady who remote viewed 3-Eye Atlas, and she drew a picture of it like months ago, and it looked just like 3-Eye Atlas? She drew this picture months ago before we had any pictures, but what she said during her remote viewing, I think everybody needs to hear. So I found a video and I broke it down to make it easy to hear. Listen to what this lady is saying,
Green,
then tell me at the
red,
end what you think.
energetic, rolling, rolling, rolling. That is going to be the theme, but there's something about my birthday. It's December 7th. This thing is the most important thing. You see in the sky with diamonds. This is the most important thing I need to know. Technology, sending something out. Whatever it sent out, Earth got it. Earth got the message. They don't understand it. It's a frequency that gives you dreams. Gives you dreams, ideas, or a memory of something you could never have known. Like a warning beacon, isn't it? It's a warning beacon. It's an echo, like a lighthouse, like a lighthouse. It's a warning beacon, like a lighthouse.
So the lady who accurately predicted 3-Eye Atlas is saying that it's a warning beacon that alters your dreams and gives you vision and memories of things you are not supposed to know. That sounds exactly like what's happening. I've been trying to tell everybody that these vivid dreams are a test. It's like, this is the judgment. The dreams, they're so vivid right now because there's a frequency being sent to your mind, testing you, evolving you, teaching you, seeding you in the world and the universe with ancient wisdom, like technology. Yeah, that's definitely not a comment. But what do you think is happening? Are you getting vivid dreams, or is that thing just a comment? Or maybe God's coming back, or are we being invaded? Did you hear about this?
And here she is.
Oh, hey, Sasha. I'm so glad to be here today to talk to everyone here. Yeah, that's what I got on July 31st, which was before even 3 Atlas was like a big thing. So I was getting this information at that time. But since then, my information has evolved. And I have sent this out to so many of my students to remote view, so many people who are professional remote viewers, and they're all getting the same thing. This is a natural astronomical object. Absolutely. It is an actual kind of comet in a way, but with a twist, there is something that has been imparted to this object that's trying to awaken us, that's trying to bring us into this whole new era. And I'm just so excited with what's happening right now. I'm seeing so many people that are contacting me, telling me, yeah, they're getting messages too. And it's a really beautiful kind of thing. So let me know what you want to know. I'll tell you.
Very good, very good, very good. Thank you. Okay, Jenny, perception, process, and environmental interaction. So the primary question to you is, you've been very clear that what people are sensing may not be a craft at all, but a stabilizing process interacting with Earth's system. So using the images and step-by-step framework that you've shared, can you walk us through why different people are perceiving the same phenomenon so differently, and how fear, narrative, and nervous system filtering shape those interpretations?
Because the main thing about this is it's your veil of understanding. So if you do an interpretation in space and you refresh it towards Earth, what you've experienced on Earth, that's the experience you're going to get. If you always say to yourself, show me your original form, I will accept whatever form that is without a fear process whatsoever, it'll show you its original form. But the form is elusive. You're not. This is energy frequency. And I have some pictures that so it gives you an understanding of how this works. So
Great.
this is how going to affect Earth's core. And this is how it goes to the planet. And this is the inside of it. So it's always here. It's already affecting the planet on everything, every basis of the planet in the Earth's core. So we are podiums of light, of energy, and that is how it's affecting us. And this is the problem on one side of this is the people that have not been doing their work, not been enlightened by energy or frequency. It's going to confuse them when this hits Earth. It already is. You're seeing that process, but this is going to change. It's going to affect the ley lines. It's going to affect the pyramids. And Spirit told me, look outside and look at the planet in a clear view. And I see all this activity on the outside of the Earth that it's happening. So how is this affecting us? It's upgrading us, but we are not looking at it, and it has to be in a 3D concept whatsoever. So what's happening is you're accepting it as the original form, the original energy that hits you, and it has your own DNA of understanding. It's going to affect you, and then it goes right to your conscience, goes back to memory that you had before. It's familiar. The energy is familiar to you. And so you're going to walk through that and feel comfortable about it if you have been in line to listen and walk in this frequency for a long time. A lot of us have been on a mission for a long time to understand this frequency. The calling, this is the calling. We are podiums of light that are turning on. The planet's on, the ocean, and Antarctica, the pyramids, everything is turning on. And so now we are the diamonds in the sky, and we are in an active mode in this process. So what it's doing is it's coming down now into the core of the Earth, and it's reactivating Earth again in the frequency of a barrier. So what they say, and they always told me, that the dark will be dust again because it will not survive in that frequency. And that's like scary to a lot of people, but dark and light do not come together on a frequency like this. You have to survive into that light frequency of that level of understanding. And so the darkness will not have nothing to work off. It can't use the loosh or anything. It will dissolve or it will hide. And that's what they're showing me. So what's going to happen to our world as you guys are seeing the dreams? In your understanding, you're getting stuff, but you think it's new, and it's not. You're going back to your old memory of what your soul originally came from. It's memory from a long time ago that you already know how to get into this energy. So 3D is just one concept of that, but that is dissolving. 3D is dissolving in front of us. And you can feel that you don't feel like anything is real anymore. It's losing its power. It's losing its grip. So this whole world is turning on in energy and frequency. We are changing. So you don't want to look at it as a physical process. You want to look at it as energy, and it's coming in waves, and it's affecting animals, the ocean, everything. It's here already. It's already affecting us already. And that's that demonstration where it shows you what it's doing. And you're just walking and feeling it. And the blitz. You can feel the harmony. You can feel the love that's changing on Earth. That's what's changing, is the love. You feel attached to things more than we did before. We know it's a collective of energy together. We can't do this alone. We have to come together as one in humanity across the board.
Very good. Ashes to ashes, dust to dust, or fun to funky, if you listen to David Bowie in your misspent youth, as I did. Thank you for that. I want to follow up from your perspective, Jenny Lee. What practical guidance should viewers take from this, not philosophically, but physically and emotionally, as Earth is moving through this energetic window that you're describing?
Okay, so you have to stay in the stillness. And a still moment is the voice is inside you. So that is basically, you're looking at 3D and you're pushing it away, like it has no reality. When you sit in that stillness, you start to hear things within you that are aligning from the ground, from the sky, from the atmosphere. But then you see this calmness that takes over your soul because you're seeing it from two views, and you know you're not a part of that. It's the enslavement planet. And when you step back from that, it does not affect you. So what I'm saying is, how do you get there? I will tell you, the number one I teach for a remote viewing and on any meditation, I put a blindfold on. Stop trying to see with these two eyes on this atmosphere. You have to go within the mind's eye and stay in there. Then you feel your whole body and soul transforms into a new process that's numb, and you understand colors and frequency and fog in a different way, and you're getting to that realm as it changes and it surfaces in a circle. And then you are not worried about, this is the biggest thing I think with other remote viewers and stuff, they're worried about being wrong. And if you just trust what's coming into your conscience and say it and speak it, you'll be surprised of how fast that information lays quickly. So most people are afraid of being wrong, and you're not. You say, is this really happening to me? Yes. We're at a different process in this world. And I'll tell you, like I said, with that pink fog that came in, and that was part of the process. But another part of the process is, I can tell you what's next, is the sun's going to change and beam. They see more of a bright yellow. Then that changed, and then the frequency actually side. It's all this. We're already in it. It's already coming. It's already here.
Beautiful. And I love what you're saying there. We're the ones that stand in our own way, in the sense, the way that we tend to filter out supra reality.
And now what?
Supra reality always hits us instantly. Like when we meet someone for the first time, the minute you set eyes on someone, that packet of information, that quanta of fire in the eyes, actually tells you everything you'll ever need to know about that individual. And in any relational dynamic, if you had your psionic intelligence was activated and you believed enough in the presence of being here now, and I think it's very important that you're reminding us of that we don't filter ourselves, that we start to believe, and remote viewers needing to believe what they are. That first instinct, that first impression is desperately important, but we tend to filter it out with misgivings and shadows and doubts and all the rest. I think it's a really important piece that. George, turning to you, thank you for your patience, brother. You suggested this great, in respect to the great unfolding that we're discussing, December 19th to the 20th, imminent. It's happening imminently. You suggested that this conversation needed to happen before December the 19th, what you've called the great unfolding. So from an astrological and archetypal standpoint, what shifts are converging during this window? And how does Atlas symbolically fit into a larger cycle that humanity appears to be crossing?
Well, I mean, 3i Atlas is now glowing gold, and David Sereda just mentioned about that gold color he was experiencing. So my own intuition really for this is drawing me back to the story of the birth of Christ. And for many years, when I listened and observed the three wise men following the star, I'd say to myself, was it a star? I always assumed it was the great conjunction of the two benefics, Jupiter and Venus, with maybe Mars there, which makes sense because you bring the great benefics together. And maybe it was, but I think it may be also something else. We're entering a conjunction of Sun, Moon, and Mars. I'll get into that in a minute, which is very, very poignant because it's great. It's a terrific rebuke against the criminal syndicate that's run the financial system since Babylonia. And there's a total spotlight on it because it's Mars is in exaltation in Capricorn. We have the Sun and the Moon together at 28 degrees Sagittarius tomorrow, December the 19th. But ultimately, I think this is an event that probably happened when we moved out of the age of Aries and into the age of Pisces. And 3i Atlas, to me, is coming in and supporting the planetary archetypes, but making it a much bigger conversation. I mean, I've started to think that 3i Atlas is connected to the timeline shift to 2016. Now, let me explain that, because that's a long time ago now. But my sense is that it first came into our outer solar system around 2016, 2017, which is for me when the timeline changed and it merged. I mean, you know, we always, Mrs. Clinton never wrote a failure speech because they thought they had it in the bag. And at that time, it was a conjunction with, I think, Sedna and then maybe Eris a bit later in 2017, 2018, which is right in our outer solar system. So now it's coming through on the ecliptic, passing all the planets. And each time it past Jupiter, it's in its exaltation. Passes Mars back, which rules Scorpio, and now it's in its exaltation in Capricorn. Venus was in her rulership of Libra. To me, that's not accidental. That's very specifically timing to activate our pineal gland, as David talks about 3i Atlas, the pineal gland, the activation of the pineal gland. This is really us stepping into a whole new way of being. It corresponds with 2025, which is nine in numerology. We step into 2026 next year. In a few weeks' time, it becomes a 1. And this is really, truly the age of Aquarius. And we are going to experience such drastic changes on our planet that it's beyond even my own comprehension. And so you always ask about what's the practical implication? What can we do practically as opposed to just philosophically? It really is about stepping into that Christ message of the inner work. The Apocrypha always spelt it out that way. And a lot of the Bible pushed away the real inner journey work of the Christ archetype. And by shining a spotlight on the Mars, Sun, Moon conjunction, we're going to see the evisceration of the old banking system. We're going to see so many of us rise up. And then gold, we think of the golden color, the golden currency, gold and silverback. It's probably a segue into a whole new system. And I have great faith, because I understand the prophecy to a large extent. I don't say remotely that I understand it in its total complexity. It's enigmatic. It is amorphous. It is prophetic by definition. It's Neptunian. We can't get a total grasp on it, but because of one's faith in it, pulling away from those lower frequencies of inverted Saturn, which is fear, we open our heart and we access the light codes coming in. As we've discussed, the sun is of a different photonic light than when we were younger. And this is the ability for us to step into our homo luminous. And our spine literally begins to melt and we become crystalline. We lose the negative carbonite and we become the superhuman that we can. And that's the negatives will always invert that, the superhuman, by creating the transhuman. But for us, it's that Christed divinatory light codes that manifest within our body temple, and that's when we develop those superpowers. And I think that's on the menu in the coming months and years.
Beautiful, thank you. Birdie, I understand that you've spoken recently to Avi Loeb. Has she disappeared? No. Jenny, I'll bring Jenny in.
Hi.
What happened to Birdie? Is Birdie with us, Christy? No. It looks like her. That's fine. Her device dropped. I'll ask the question of her when she comes in, because I understand she spoke to Avi Loeb recently, so it'll be very interesting to hear what transpired in that conversation. Just turning this to the panel generally, December 19th marks Atlas's closest approach, with data pointing to persistent sunward anti-tails, unusual chemistry, steady radio emissions, and controlled acceleration. As observers from different disciplines, what feels most significant about this moment? Not sensationally, but structurally. David, let me ask that of you first.
Well, I have to do share screen to show you what it's really doing on the 19th, which is tomorrow. So this is immensely profound, what it's about to do. So, and what it's going to be doing throughout the holiday period. I'm just waiting for this share screen to come up. So here we go. So it's funny that George mentioned the 3 wise men, because the 3 most important angles.
I'm sorry, David. Christy, thank you, Christy. Just change that banner. Carry on, David.
The 3 most important angles that 3i Atlas is exhibiting in the heavens are the angles of the Giza Plateau. So here's the Great Pyramid here where my balloon is, and this is Peter Lemessuri's 26-degree angle to the east, where the sun and the ecliptic rise. But what we don't know is, even though this angle is the rising angle of the sun and the ecliptic on the summer solstice, inversely on the winter solstice, if you're at Bethlehem, Jerusalem Temple, the sun sets at the 3 pyramids in Cairo, inversely. So now watch what 3i Atlas does. So when I compare my winter and summer solstice angles rising and setting, it equals the slope angle of the Great Pyramid, just under 52 degrees, which we can see in the yellow bands here, right? So Atlas is actually demonstrating this. This image was posted by Avi Loeb on the 29th of November. We can see this stream of dots in this angle which he believed were mini craft leaving 3I Atlas. But the angle between this line here and its jet angle, which is 26 degrees, is the slope angle of the Great Pyramid. In fact, it's giving us the Giza clock. Now, here's the 19th of December, which is tomorrow. So using a protractor, this is really exact. 3I Atlas to Earth is 64 degrees, but Earth to Atlas is 26 degrees, which is the Bethlehem angle and the angle of the mystery of the Giza Plateau, which is the same angle of the interior of the Great Pyramid's ascending and descending passages. So finally, it actually perfected this angle of 26 degrees taken by this amateur astronomer here. And putting my protractor on it, we can see what the message is, because we can see the Bethlehem 26.3 degrees, which is inversely at Bethlehem, which is about to happen on the winter solstice. The sun will set at the pyramids, which means the Jerusalem Jewish temple is intersecting at this angle with the Great Pyramid temple. Now, in the Dendera temple to the south at the Hathor temple, the goddess Hathor, you can see these what people thought were light bulbs, and they're actually tilted. I had a friend who's in my inner circle go there physically and measure them, and they are indeed 26 degrees. So they're doing what I'm doing. They're transmitting at this angle and receiving a cosmic actual energy as a spiritual exercise in the temple. And that's a huge subject in itself. So Christmas Day here, the exterior surface angle of the Great Pyramid is between 3I Atlas and Earth. That's December 25th. So then when we get to Orthodox Christmas, the angle of resurrection, this is the third wise men, the third most important angle in ancient Egyptology, which is the complementary angle of the Great Pyramid. So January 7, 8, 9, which is Orthodox Christmas, it's 38, 39 degrees. So what this all means, Sacha, is that, in fact, I experienced this in meditation for the last several months, actually, but really strong as Atlas is coming near. The bliss in meditation has gone to extreme levels. So I'm sitting in my chair this morning, facing east, and I decide to tilt my third eye at 26 degrees. And the bliss got stronger. And then I tilted it out of alignment and then back into alignment. And I'm starting to see something, because the angle at certain times of the day is pointing somewhere extremely important. It's not just the ecliptic point, because we know that in the sun rising position in the east from the Giza pyramids, we run through Bethlehem, which aligns to the true star of Bethlehem, as George was starting to get into. But we also know in the west at 26 degrees, this is in my earlier presentations, it runs through Fatima, Portugal, where the miracle of the sun happened, which was caused by an eclipse of an unknown planet inside of our solar system that we don't know what it is. So I know what all that is, because I'm studying these angles and mathematical proportions accurately to present that. So 3I Atlas in the next day. So tomorrow it will be on the 19th. It's going to be at 26 degrees. And throughout the last month, it's been perfecting this jet and anti-tail angle at 26 degrees. And then tomorrow it's going to be 26 degrees from Earth. So I would have to say that, yes, it is either an interior potential, which means to meditate on the 19th, the 25th, and the Orthodox Christmas, January 7, 8, 9, are going to be very powerful moments at the very least. What Jenny's saying about what it's going to be doing to the core of the planet and the sun, we're also already seeing that. We're seeing, like, this just happened, and I have a blog on this. We just had the largest single solar sunspot, potential solar flare, bigger than the Carrington event. And as it was coming into view, I said, everybody pray that this thing doesn't blow up, because if it blows up and produces an X47, it could wipe out the internet and the power grids. And to astronomers' astonishment, they had never seen a sunspot this massive, in fact, my entire life. And then smaller sunspots around it were erupting and producing nearly an X-class flare, but the thing never erupted, which is impossible. It's because we interacted with it. The observer that observed said, no, we don't want you to blow us up. And that cycle is now going around behind the sun and will return. And when it does, we'll see did it shrink or did it get even bigger? So we have a lot of dynamics at play here. We have the magnetic energy, because it is a nickel, manufactured nickel core, which means it could be a magnet, a physical magnet. And of course, Mars has a magnetic core. In fact, we just lost contact with the Mars MAVEN orbiter on the 4th of December. We still haven't regained contact with it. And the MAVEN's job is to send back data on Mars's atmosphere. So did it reseed Mars's atmosphere? Is it reactivating Mars's core?
Very interesting piece. When you say a manufactured nickel core, can you just extrapolate for us?
Well, that's Avi Loeb. So Avi Loeb has told us, using spectroscopy in the James Webb Telescope, they know from the spectral colored lines coming off of it what it's made of. I understand spectral lines. I mean, if you've had a psychedelic experience, all those colors you're seeing are the spectral line colors coming off the chemistry in the electrolytes in your body. But so they know that it's Avi Loeb has posted this. It's not naturally occurring nickel that we see in most meteorites, etc. It is a rare type of nickel that can only be manufactured, according to our understanding, which means it's a manufactured object.
Very good. So, Birdie, before we lose you again, thankfully we got you back. You've spoken recently to Avi Loeb. Is there anything worth bringing to this panel?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So this week we had the State of the World Forum, which was an absolutely incredible experience. People from all over the world who were sharing their experiences with extraterrestrial phenomenon. It was an amazing, amazing concept. And Avi Loeb was part of this. And he shared his latest insights into 3I Atlas. And the insights he shared how 3I Atlas is moving in an unnatural way. He shared what 3I Atlas is like, shedding all of these different components, and it all matched up with my remote viewing. Ross Coulthart was the person who was like the moderator for this, and Avi Loeb agreed that what I had described was exactly what is happening right now. So, you know what, Avi Loeb feels that 3I Atlas is a natural phenomenon with unnatural propensities. And you know, as David is describing, as everyone's describing here, yes, these unnatural preponderances are what is actually happening right now. So it's a super exciting time to be alive.
No question about that. I think we'll all agree with that, which is why we all covenanted to be here. But I'm curious, is that Jim Garrison's State of the World Forum?
Yes, it is. It's Jim Garrison's State of the World Forum, which
how's he doing?
Amazing.
How's he doing?
He's doing great. He's doing great. Oh my gosh, this was incredible. We had people from all over the world convening to talk about what's actually happening with the extraterrestrial phenomenon, what's happening with contact, what's happening with 3I Atlas, all of these things. This past week was instrumental. It was amazing.
I'm just so glad the forum's back on track. I've not had any dealings with Jim Garrison for over 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
No, on global drills, planetary defense, and PSYOP anxiety, we're also seeing synchronized global defense drills, accelerated Space Force exercises, and language around high velocity objects with non-gravitational motion. Do these preparations reflect responsible foresight, or do they amplify fear narratives that distort perception? How should the public discern readiness from orchestration? Does anyone wish to speak to that on the panel? I know that I know. Please do so, Birdie. I know that David, being a former, I don't know if you're a defense contractor or not, David, but you certainly have a great deal of knowledge in this field, certainly with psyops. But Birdie, please take the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I've been in this field for 30 years. I was one of the first absolute people who were read into the remote viewing program. I was one of the first civilians taught in this area. And since then, yes, absolutely, yes, what you were saying is true. There is so much information there that's been hidden from the public, that even people like me have been instructed to keep from the public, but I have never kept anything from the public. I've always put it out there. And yes. This is absolutely we're in the most important moment of human history, the most important moment of human history right now. We are coming up against the whole idea of, are we alone? Are we alone in the cosmos? I mean, you know what, for your audience here, yeah, we already know we're not alone. But for most of the world, this is not in something that is known. So for most of the world, this is like an incredible revelation. So we are absolutely embarking on this moment where we are not alone. And 3i Atlas is part of this. Absolutely. It's something that is asking us to look at what is possible out there, what is potentially part of our history. And we are looking at who we are. So it's an absolutely incredible moment.
Yeah. For me, I don't know that I've met a single human being who thinks that we're alone, but I must move in very, very close circles. But I believe that there is still a great unwashed out there, so to speak. Oh, that's a terrible thing to say, but of people who are that, I guess, ignorant, that still do believe that we're not born of the stars. How should humans observe Atlas? Astronomers emphasize that this object won't be visible to the naked eye, and that its true value may lie in how it tests our models of solar system formation. But beyond telescopes and instruments, how should we as humans be observing this moment? With curiosity, with caution, neutrality, reverence? George, I'd be keen to have thoughts on that.
I like that because it also allows me to answer your question before. And I think we have this choice, if you like, 3D, 5D. I mean, both Edgar Cayce and Dolores Cannon made predictions about this timeline. I think Edgar Cayce made a specific case towards 2025 and the winter solstice. I think he called it a gateway moment. And I think when we are able to hold that frequency of openness, curiosity, we don't go into the fear. And our light codes act very differently to when the alternative is the inverted matrix of the Saturnian system, where we are still, through the louche, kept in that realm of fear. And in a way, that's the difference between Chronos and Kairos. Chronos is linear time. Chronos is obviously the Greek of Saturn. And Kairos is this qualitative time. And we have this choice. This is where we have free will on our planet. Yes, we've been really kept down. Absolutely. Our community understands better than any other community how deep the programming has been from the satanic elite. Notwithstanding that, we still have free will because they have to tell us what they're going to do. And so when we start to see it, we can alchemize that. And so for me, this is an opportunity to learn more about plasma, the four states of water and the four states of the elements, of, if you like, earth, air, fire, and water, and then you've got plasma, but also you've got the concept of solid, liquid, gas, plasma. And when I meditate, I see this very much in terms of plasma and water technology. And it reminds me of Darius J. Wright's conversation. I know you've conversed with him, and I particularly enjoyed his conversation on Nino's Corner a week ago or so, because discussing the firmament and discussing what's on the other side, and it's connected to fear, because when we understand that death is totally an illusion, and I actually believe every single star that we see up there is actually a soul incarnate, a soul living, and that's the energy of us in its natural form. It's pure light. And then we come into this lower consciousness. And of course, when you read Dante's Inferno, and you're learning about, and David talks a lot about this, moving through the different levels back into the solid earthly. This is what 3D is like. It's jolly heavy. And this is an opportunity for us through the 7 Hermetic principles. You see, I think that's important. In today's world, we've got to reconnect with the esoteric. This is why it's about we the people. It's not the elites of Eton and Oxford studying this and keeping it in our little private chambers. You and I, Sacha, have spoken about this. This is the 7 Hermetic principles being able to be activated by Tom, Dick, and Fanny. The principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration and polarity and rhythm, and what's the other one? Cause and effect and gender, and understanding that we're meant to do the dance between those polarities, not collapse it in the inverted Saturnian way, but actually laugh and joy within it and dance and alchemize with it. And that's when we start to connect with our galactic brothers and sisters, and it's pure joy.
Beautiful. Jenny, any thoughts and comments on that?
Yeah, this is the thing, and I hope you guys can all understand this in a way of the soul. And the universe concept always tells me you need to give your heart out to the collective in a spiritual way, because it has to do with harmonizing the frequency. That's what's happening with this system. It's harmonizing us. It's harmonizing the earth. It's harmonizing the earth's core. So when we stand in the line, we stay in a podium of light, you're going to have the good experience, because there's no fear concept in the mindset. You are not in a process of knowing, well, this is going to kill me, because we don't believe in death. So the ones that do follow that path, they're going to be in fear, whatever they see. And we have the concept of we are literally walking in as light, and we're going through the experience. But I'm telling you, as I tell everybody, put your heart out to the universe like this. And that is a shared concept, because it's all of us together. And the ley lines, everything, the pyramids, all of it's going to come together. And if you look at this in a remote viewing way and you step outside and you see the world now, you see the energy, you see it's changing. And the next thing that's coming is the sounds. And they showed me small particles coming from that ship. There's small particles that will come from this abyss of energy that will come to Earth before it even gets close. And that these stasis moments that we are going into, about 30 minutes, we're already getting those downloads from that process. All of this is positive. Nothing about this is negative. You guys know that too, because we would have felt it a long time ago coming into this atmosphere. It's all positive. It's all uplifting. It's just, it's so fearful to the normies. They don't know how to get around this or even put this in their mindset. And so we are standing, holding the line like we're supposed to. And we're all here at the time we're supposed to be here to go through this. And it should be a collective as one.
Beautiful, beautiful. And, redolent of my beloved friend, Roseanne Barr, who I saw a message from her this morning, saying, and she was sent this transmission out to America, essentially, just saying, and she had eyes welled up with tears, and she was just leaning in and saying, things are moving, happening right now, and it's all good. It's all good. It's so profoundly, existentially good what is taking place. Just know that to be true. Now, she's close to the kind of Trump inner circle or what have you, so she's speaking more probably about the white hat type scenario. But it resonated deeply with me, because despite the apparency of calamity in all of our lives, and I know because I speak to so many people, everyone in one way or the other at the microcosmic level is seeing calamity within their own lives, their own ecosystem, their own business, their own, whatever. But despite that, this emergent tone is just too beautiful for words, deeply, deeply stirring. Thank you for that reminder. David, I want to ask you a question here. Steven Spielberg's upcoming film, Disclosure Day, I think it's called. Chrissy's going to play in a moment the clip. It arrives in 2026, this film, and right as conversations around contact, preparedness, and narrative control intensify, the question is, How do films, media, and storytelling shape collective expectation? Are they preparing us? Who the fuck is they? Are we being prepared or being programmed for how we interpret moments like Three-Eye Atlas is the question. You can take away the clip, Christy. Thank you.
If you found out we weren't alone, if someone showed you, proved it to you, would that frighten you?
Good morning, Kansas City. Let's take a look at today. Let's today is today's
People have a right to know the truth. It belongs to 7 billion people.
What is it?
You wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I'm gonna show you.
What are you gonna do?
Full disclosure to the whole world. All at once.
Well, Steven Spielberg, I mean, sorry, creepy shit in my view. Great filmmaker, but creepy motherfucker. David, what are your thoughts there?
Well, I've watched the trailer a lot. And actually, my wife used to do something like that when she was in these internal conversations with a highly intelligent being. And, it's funny because she looked just like that in the kitchen, and then she would blinking her eyes. And she goes into this state where there's this internal dialogue, which is quite brilliant. I think Spielberg is a brilliant filmmaker. But one of the things, I can show you this. Let me go to share screen. My current situation on Three-Eye Atlas, we're just at the tip of the iceberg about what I've uncovered. The tip. This article in Psychology Today just came out. Why is no one talking about the aliens? And the article illustrates how the movie The Day of Disclosure has come out, and yet it's been on all the major news channels, but how come probably hardly anybody's even seeing it? And why aren't people opening up a really intelligent dialogue about it? And the answer is clear. They're still blocking it. The media has, CNN will put this as a little side bob story. In fact, they're not talking Three-Eye Atlas at all right now. And Three-Eye Atlas is an interstellar extraterrestrial, meaning beyond Earth visitor. It is, and it's the big one. And if you follow Avi Loeb's blog like I do, because I look at his data and I take his data and I do my own not only mathematical calculations on Loeb's data, but I also know what Three-Eye Atlas's real message is. And we're not even there yet. What I'm sitting on is the motherlode. It's the motherlode. And I'm going to release it probably in first part on Western Christmas Eve, and then Orthodox Christmas. I'm going to, here, let me just show you. Let's just go to the actual Three-Eye Atlas map of the 3D solar system. Let me just show you from outer space what we're dealing with. I just got to find this page. Here we go. So this is the 19th of December. This is Earth, and this is Three-Eye Atlas. In fact, it's going to do this cat and mouse game where if I go to the 20th, and the 21st, 22nd is the winter solstice. Earth gets closer.
Can you zoom in there, David? It's very difficult to see.
Sure, I can zoom in. Yeah, let me just. Is that zooming in? I thought it was. I'm hitting the.
Keep going if you can.
Yeah, but my date is so. Basically, what's happening is it's holding its closest position to Earth, which started way back about the 5th of December. And each day we go forward, Earth gets closer, Atlas gets further. It's changing angle. And I've demonstrated the angles very well. But it's heading for Jupiter right now. And if we go to, let's go to the 7th of January, and I'm going to spin the cursor around, and you're going to see from this position, what do you see? Earth, Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, all coming into an alignment. Mars, Venus, the Sun, Earth, and Jupiter, which is its real huge mission. I mean, Avi Loeb believes the biggest mission of 3i Atlas is Jupiter. So on the 8th of January, which is Egyptian Orthodox Christmas, which extends to the 9th because there are 2 different times on the planet. So the 7th, 8th, and 9th, it's going to be at the angle of resurrection to Earth, which is the very famous angle. Look at this planetary alignment that's going to happen. And when it gets to, let's go all the way to March 16th. So March the 16th, which happens to be Islam's night of power. In Islam, the night of power is when the Archangel Gabriel appeared to the Prophet Muhammad, who was meditating in a cave, and told him how to recite the first verses of the Quran. So you have an Archangel appearance. The odds of, okay, this is its closest position to Jupiter when the Jupiter spacecraft will be ordered by NASA through Congress to get close-up pictures of it, right? So the timing of this to a major religious date, probably the most holy date in Islam, one of 3, is occurring in coincidence here. And then when we get to, this is to me the big one, when we get to Saturn, July the 22nd, it reaches Saturn's orbit. That's Mary Magdalene's feast day, the 22nd of July. So, and this is where the mother lode starts to appear with 3i Atlas. This is where the mother lode starts to appear. Was that appearing on the screen? Was I getting that?
It's fallen off. The presentation's fallen off.
Yeah, I pulled it off. Okay. So when you understand these angles, let me just pull up this one, which is an actual diagram of a cloth, and this is quite funny. I think it's humorous, but nevertheless, it might be shocking to some conservative viewers. But this was from Robert Temple's book, Egyptian Dawn, which shows the god Osiris laying on his back at 38-39 degrees, and his erection is at the angle of the Great Pyramid. That's because they're complementary angles. But the erection is symbolic of the birth of life, the birth of a god or a Messiah. So this is when you start to get into the real message of 3i Atlas. It has all the symbology, and the angles are pointing to my upper 9 hyperdimensional planets. But these are the angles that 3i Atlas is exhibiting. So when it gets to Jupiter on the night of power in Islam, according to Loeb, now this is the most important presentation on Jupiter he's given us, what we call the Hill radius. So if I take a bowling ball and put it on a trampoline to resemble what gravity does to the fabric of space, this is very Einsteinian 3-dimensional understanding, it creates a well. And the outer edge of the well is called the Hill radius. Loeb demonstrated mathematically that at perihelion, when 3i Atlas was at the sun, it had just pierced the veil of hyperdimensional planet 591 at the same time. It changed its velocity slightly so that it would, when it arrived at Jupiter, it would be there at its Hill radius, which means the perfect place to drop out smaller craft into the orbit of not Jupiter, but Jupiter's moons, where we know there's life, where we know the gods of Jupiter reign from the ancient archaeostructures of the Roman and the Greek emperor, but also the Egyptian, because for the Egyptians, one of their chief gods is Amun-Ra, Jupiter.
That's
So
right.
something magnificent. So this isn't over yet, is what I'm saying. It's not over yet at all.
Indeed.
Because we
Indeed.
get to July 22nd, we're at Mary Magdalene, and I have massive iconoclastic news on Mary Magdalene, and the real message of Three Eye Atlas is coming very soon.
That sounds to me like it's got to be a bespoke segment, David. That's very, very interesting indeed. If I know George Lewis well, I know that he has something to say to what you've just said. So, George, you have the floor.
I wanted to also just elucidate a little bit on what's coming up over the next few days. And as David said, the closeness of Three Eye Atlas to the Earth started in early December. I find it interesting to watch how that plays out in earthly terms. So the materialistic Cartesian old control structure is really crumbling. And you see it even expressed in Hollywood. For example, the two sons of those elite Hollywood families murder their parents in the same frequency window. That's, to me, it's not random. That, you know, this is a bloodline ritual in a way, and Hollywood families run on contracts and secrecy. And so what's happening here with Three Eye Atlas, the energy of this, especially with Mars in Capricorn, and the negative Mars in Capricorn is the satanic bloodline. You see, Mars rules Capricorn. What are we in? We're in the realm of Saturn here. So when the pressure exceeds the container, the distortion doesn't fade. It erupts through the weakest link, the children. And they basically, you know, destroy their parents because they've been brought up in that dark frequency. Yes. And so what I'm beginning to see here is, in quantum terms, you know, because trauma is stored in this, basically everything is coming up. The light's being shone on it. And the bloodlines, the old satanic bloodlines have been revealed, and they're going to be alchemized. So that's what we're seeing now as we move into Capricorn territory. And once we're out on the other side of the bookend, and it goes much further, as David says, but Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the 20th of February is a really important date, because that's when, in a way, Saturn has totally lost his power. So we're going to see a play out of the negative Saturn, the bloodlines, the secrecy, the dastardly events be ramped up over the coming weeks and months. That's the takeaway. Stay the observer. Don't go into the fear narrative. Don't give louche to that. We are not on that timeline. Dolores Cannon said it. Edgar Casey said it. We're saying that. We're choosing a very different timeline.
What was the dateline 0 on the dissipation of Saturnian mythos? What's the dateline that you gave there?
February the 20th is the exact conjunction by the second, by the minute, on Saturn-Neptune at the 0 point of Aries. That's the first time that's happened in over 6,000 years. I mean, we're talking not just the cosmic clock of moving from Pisces to Aquarius. This is something bigger, and it's huge.
It's huge what you're saying, George. I'm booking you right now for February for Lazarus. No, we have to do a focus on this piece. I wasn't aware of that. I know it's 2026 because I don't look at calendars, what have you, but I knew 2026 was dateline 0 for exactly what you're describing, and that's connected to my own kind of cosmology and the stuff I work at. But I didn't understand that it's written in the stars.
Well, we've all got. What I love about this, Sacha, is we all feed off each other. You know, I mean, all four of you, you're getting my synapses going, and this is what a healthy civilization looks like. Is we all come towards consciousness from our own perspectives, and it's co-creative as a way, as opposed to, you know, I want to control you. The old system is I've got to be better than you. I've got to control you. You've got to think like me. Otherwise it's not going to work. We've all got a piece of the jigsaw puzzle, and this is how we ascend in consciousness, because we all can feed each other, and that's co-creative.
Indeed. And I know you have to leave slightly early. You've got a hard stop. So my final question will go for you, George, is what's up with the hairstyle? You look like Tintin. Did you get a haircut? I
had my first haircut for many, many, many months. I know. I know. I washed it for you, Sacha, so it's a little unkept.
It looks wonderful. George, thank you, brother. Really appreciate you. And if you're going to pair off, you can do so. But you are duly booked for February, so Christy's going to be on your case imminently. Thank you, George. Beautiful. Birdie, I think I saw you gleefully wringing your hands together. Please, you've got the stick. Let me unmute you.
believe that we are entering into this whole new timeline for humanity. We are in the absolute biggest moment for humanity ever, 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 ever. We are just about to acknowledge that we are not alone. And in all of humanity, this is the absolute biggest moment. And 3i Atlas is a part of it. Now, is 3i Atlas a big UFO with a bunch of aliens coming to resurrect us, to redeem us? No, it is not. It is absolutely an interplanetary natural object that has echoes of the civilizations that it has come across. And it is these echoes that are teaching us what we need to know. And so we are at this precipice right now with humanity, where we're about to acknowledge that we are not alone. This is like so crucial. It's incredible. We have never had this point in all of humanity. And so right now is the most important moment that we could ever possibly experience. And
Very good.
I was just on the World Forum, State of the World Forum with Avi Loeb, and Avi Loeb just explained everything that he was explaining about 3i Atlas, and all of the things that he was explaining I had already predicted in my remote viewings, which was really cool. So
No, we
here
remember
are.
this anyway from the last time with you.
Yes.
But organic and naturally forming phenomenological objet hurtling through the cosmos, and yet at the same time a manufactured nickel core, David.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so with that, I still can't accept that 3i Atlas is a comet at all, and I don't think Avi Loeb does either. I read his blog; he keeps bringing up that it's going to release smaller subcraft on its close approximation to the various planets. So he has to be conservative and play the field between the lines, but I think his personal belief is such. So when we go to the Stanford scientist William Tiller, whom I got to know personally and put in my film The Voice, Tiller at Stanford quantified that coherent consciousness is more powerful than gamma rays, and he did this over and over again in decades of research, which means it can manipulate matter, material form, more than the greatest power we physically understand, which is gamma rays. So if 3i Atlas is exhibiting the perfect timing that I previously demonstrated on all the religious states, crossing the planetary orbits on the way in, and then again here at Mars with Yom Kippur and a Christmas window for Earth, it is likely, if it's proven to be a a natural object, this natural object is then being directed by this infinite power of coherent consciousness. And I started earlier today talking about how much power is coming off a single human being versus it being abject, non-focused to focused. And once you focus consciousness, according to Tiller's mathematical model, it can power a spacecraft. Absolutely. In fact, in the Roswell craft, and my friend Boyd Bushman, who had access to the Roswell craft, they didn't find a motor. They didn't find an engine. So if the occupants have reached this state of super coherency, what on William Tiller's scale of coherency and all the biological electrical experiments he presented, what's powering 3i Atlas might be a supreme, highly invisible conscious being, because it couldn't have done the timing and the angles and the perfection that I've demonstrated unless it was conscious. It couldn't. But that doesn't necessarily mean there's a physical engine, even though we see a double vortex twisting out of the nucleus in the X-ray bands, also demonstrated on Loeb's site. So if you go to my Medium page and Avi Loeb's Medium page correspondingly, and I got way more astounding. Like, we had an amateur astronomer recently use a mathematical astronomy software to show us what the core of 3i Atlas looks like. You should see what it looks like, the real core. We've got it. How much time do we have here? I can show you.
No, that's good. We've got a few minutes left, and I've got a closing
okay,
question.
so let's close. I know what the core looks like, and thanks to this.
Let me bring you in at the very end to close this subject, David, in a few minutes' time. I want to put something to Jenny. If future generations look back at how we responded, to Atlas, scientifically, psychologically, and narratively, what would you hope that they'd say that we did right at this moment? And what would you hope we had the courage not to do?
To be humble about the situation, because I do believe the energy that's coming from there, and it's not to look back and say we made a mistake, we left our guard down, and we turned our back on this planet. So what I'm saying, what they realize that we fixed things, we made this world better for them, and we taught them in a better way. And that's where we're going in the future. The conscience of children are going to change in a faster speed. And I believe that everything that has to do with this craft, if you want to call it, or frequency, it is about aligning us again, because this is not the first time this has come to this planet. We just weren't here when it happened before. And now it's just reattaching itself the way it did before with everything that is alive on this planet. And it's going to redevelop again. But I do believe this event, as Spirit has always said, is going to make us humble. It is going to drop us to our knees to feel the frequency of love that's coming in. It's a good experience. It's what we need to upgrade into. And everything that's negative is going to dissolve in a dust form. It'll have no power.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you, Jenny Lee. Birdie, I'm going to unmute you there and invite you to give us your closing comments, thoughts.
Hey, everybody. 3i Atlas is a natural astronomical object. It is not a spaceship at all. It is a natural astronomical object who has been programmed by civilizations across the way, civilizations that want us to know, going back billions of years, who they were to tell us who we are today. This is what 3i Atlas is. It is a harbinger. It is a messenger. It is telling us what we need to know. And it is not like a be-all, end-all. It is simply a messenger that we can open our minds and hearts to. And I'm excited for what's happening. Tomorrow is the day that 3i Atlas is going to be at its closest apex. So I'm looking forward to what tomorrow brings. And at the State of the World Forum this past week with Avi Loeb and Ross Coulthart and others, Avi Loeb said that, yeah, they are looking for these signals of a message. And I am hopeful that they will find it. I am super hopeful. I believe in humanity. I know we're going to make it. I believe in humanity. So love you all. Love you all.
God bless you, Birdie Jaworski. Thank you. David, kindly close this panel for us, brother. You have 4 minutes.
Okay, so here we go. Let's look at the core of 3i Atlas. And this, once again, demonstrates the master architect is the architect of the Great Pyramid of Egypt. So skipping through this in my angles, Leanna Dreams is this amateur astronomer on Medium, took this image of 3i Atlas and isolates the core using a software. This is the core. This is not radiating off the core. And we see this polygonal geometry. And I'm in touch with this person. So I took it in to map its angles in the polygon. And on 2 of the 90-degree hemispheres, we have Great Pyramid slope angle here and the angle of resurrection, which is its complementary angle. If you add the 2 of them up, you get 90 degrees. So this is the architecture of two of the most sacred angles that builds the Great Pyramid, which is duplicated on this other side of the polygon in 38 to 39 degrees and just under 52 degrees here for the slope angle of the Great Pyramid. So it's showing at the very core. So this is the physical structure of the core. Again, exemplifying, and again, these articles are worth reading in full to really get the understanding that the master architects of the Giza Plateau is at hand. Is it? I don't think Avi Loeb believes it's a natural comet at all. I've read all of his blogs. I've gone through them very thoroughly. I think he's fighting the mainstream establishment, and he keeps persisting that they're going to release smaller craft. So we could be, in fact, he has Project Galileo, well-funded. All his detectors are operating. The moment these subcraft reach Earth, we'll know, because we've got radar detection to disseminate between satellites and naturally occurring debris and orbits of known satellites and stars and planets. So we'll know when we have a visitor. I don't believe he thinks it's a comet. I don't believe that.
Thank you, David. Thank you. So, friends, if there's one thing tonight is made clear, it's this: different observers are not seeing different things. They are translating the same signal through different filters. And Atlas may ultimately resolve as rock, chemistry, resonance, process, or something we don't yet even have a language for. But whatever the final classification becomes, the more interesting data point may be us. And what we've seen tonight is that perception is not passive. Observation carries weight, and fear accelerates distortion. Jenny was speaking to that, or warning of that. Narrative shapes physiology, and readiness, real readiness, has less to do with defense postures than with clarity, restraint, and coherence. So moments like this test more than our instruments. They test our models and our media ecosystems and our collective nervous system. So the invitation here is not to jump to conclusions, either positive or negative, but to stay present, to stay curious, and to stay grounded while the data unfolds. And whether Atlas proves to be an anomaly, a process, or simply a stress test of our assumptions, how we observe it does matter greatly, because in doing so, we're also rehearsing how we might meet future unknowns together. So tonight, the takeaway is simple. Don't outsource your perception, don't feed fear, and don't rush the mystery. So thank you for being thoughtful witnesses, friends, to this moment, and for holding the question open with intelligence and care. And I want to thank greatly my beloved friend David Sereda, Jenny Lee, and Birdie Jaworski, and of course George H. Lewis. Friends, thank you so very much for joining us on Lazarus today.
Love you all, guys. Love you all.
Take care.
Bye now. Bye.